did it last week. So anyway, geographically indexed information is turning out to be immensely powerful and useful. We see it at Google, of course, because of the use that people make of Google Earth and Google Maps. Google Earth being another example of a way of presenting geographically indexed information in various layers. Mobiles are really interesting because they are not cell phones anymore. They may be able to do provide telephony, but they are clearly programmable devices. It's easy to imagine replacing all of the remotes that you have with all the various entertainment equipment at home with your mobile, especially if the entertainment equipment and the mobile are both part of the net in the house. Or in fact, if they're just part of the internet in some way, again, strong authentication being a big issue, you might be able to interact with and manage this entertainment system no matter where you are in the world. And that's a very interesting possibility, and it's already true. In my case, I have Verizon Fios. They have services that allow me to work with the DVR from anywhere on the internet. And of course, I'm relying on the authentication to keep the 15-year-old next door from reprogramming my DVR and having things on it that I wouldn't particularly want to have on the recorder. There are implications here about discovery of devices that are in the premises. A mobile has often a very limited display area. It's often been attractive to me to imagine walking into a room like this and having my mobile discover that there's a projection unit available, and then using it to present what was on the mobile in a large format. Or maybe act as a third party and say to the projector, please go to this website, pull up this presentation file, and present it. And then I'll control what's going on from my mobile, rather than having to put my laptop here or use a remote clicker. So there are the possibility of having devices discover themselves, or discover each other, and then learn how to interconnect, even if it's an ephemeral thing, like going into a hotel room, is a very attractive possibility, from my point of view anyway. And that it doesn't stop there. I mean, mobiles, even today, at least some of our applications, allow you to speak to the mobile and have it interpret what you said. I was out at Patterson Air Force Base last week to meet with the Air Force Space Command, and we weren't exactly sure how to get there, but we had our trusty Nexus 1, so we said, right at Patterson Air Force Base to the MAPS program, and it popped up a path to get to the Air Force Base for us. So the idea that the mobile can take spoken commands and can generate spoken responses is actually quite interesting. And some of you, I'm sure, have already discovered the mobiles can be sensors all by themselves. They can sense where they are. They can sense what attitude they have. They have accelerometers in them. There are a variety of interesting applications that are starting to show up using mobiles as sensors, if only to tell you where you've been, and maybe later to tell you that wasn't a good place to be because there was hazardous material discovered there, and maybe you should go talk to your doctor. All kinds of possibilities arise when you have these devices that you carry around on your person. Some devices may produce video, webcams being the obvious case, and those might be part of a security system. They might be part of simply something keeping you in contact with friends. This is a translation program that Google makes use of. We translate about 50 different languages back and forth. We don't do uniformly well with every pairing. We're upfront about that. This was an article that was written in Spanish in El País, a popular publication in Spain, and I didn't quite know how to read it, so I gave the URL of that web page to our Google translation system, and it produced a web page that looked exactly like the other one did, except all the Spanish was replaced with English. So I left this in here because I wanted to suggest to you that the kinds of translations that we may need to do in our environment could be quite elaborate. And so this made me think of C3PO, which you'll remember was quite good at translating a variety of different machine languages from one to another. So here we are. Some of us, I think many of us, see this very constructive potential that the interoperability program offers to us. But I think that we have to be cautious, and I have heard repeated calls for caution that we don't either deliberately or by accident produce a very fragile and brittle system. Because if we are in fact expecting our society and others to rely on these things, we need them to be very resilient and very robust. Security and privacy are major issues, and there's been a great deal of discussion about security. We have working groups and task forces and the like paying close attention to this. There's still a lot to be done, in my opinion, there. Privacy is equally important. Information about your use of resources, from that information, it's possible to infer a great deal. When you think about whether the lights are off or on, and when were the lights off and on, or does the temperature in the garage go up because there's a car that just got parked there. There are a variety of different things that one could infer from having access to simple sensor information, and I think our appreciation for that is important. I think that we also should be very concerned that we're playing around with power, and this is a lot of it, in fact, in the aggregate. And so no matter what we do, no matter how carefully we design our smart grid, it's also going to have to be paranoid. It's going to have to assume that our stuff doesn't always work. It's going to have to assume that there are bad guys out there deliberately trying to interfere with the stability of the system. And so we have to rely on the generation and distribution parts of the system to be conservative in any assumptions about how reliably we will be able to respond, for example, to an indication that we should reduce power consumption. Because if the system makes the assumption that we will do it, and for some reason the system doesn't do it, then we have a problem. Certainly, centralizing things historically has led to risks, because if that part that's centralized doesn't work, then a lot of things stop working. So decentralization and distribution are often very attractive. On the other hand, it makes for a more complex environment. And so we get into the problem of trying to analyze and understand nonlinear complex systems, and that's what this will be if it's implemented. We worry that somebody could somehow manage by tweeting or otherwise to get a lot of things to either turn on or turn off simultaneously, which would cause substantial changes in the demand for electricity and cause serious problems, or at least systems to protect the system, to cut out and shut down various parts of the grid. So we do worry not so much about one small compromise in one house in one neighborhood, but a compromise that has a very broad impact on a large number of devices that are either consuming or potentially generating power. I have a long riff on security problems. I don't want to beat this into the ground. I just want to say that all the things that have happened to us in the public internet are happening partly because it didn't have a lot of the protections in it that we now see could be implemented, but also because it's in use by the general public. And once you move into that regime, the general public contains people in it who do not wish to cooperate, who don't want to be collaborative, who do want to cause trouble and cause harm. And we have to accept that and try to defend against it. It says I'm supposed to go to a hotel now. That's because it thinks that it's 3 time zones away. Okay, so why do we have all those security problems? Well,